Have you ever wondered what it would be like to just switch lives with someone else? I mean, what if all it took was a change of clothes? Well, that's exactly the idea behind Mark Twain's classic story, The Prince and the Pauper, set way back in 1547 London. It's all about two boys who look completely identical but are born into totally opposite worlds. And right away, you see the brilliant irony here. You've got Tom Canty, who's dirt poor and spends his days dreaming of being a prince just to escape his life. And then you have Prince Edward Tudor, who feels so trapped by all the rules and ceremony that all he wants is the freedom of a normal kid. It's that classic grass is always greener situation, right? So, here's how we're going to walk through this amazing tale. We'll look at their separate worlds, the pauper's dream, the prince's cage, their incredible meeting, the big switch, and then what happens next. All right, let's set the scene. The year is 1547. The city is London, and on the exact same day, two baby boys are born. They look so much like they could be twins, but their lives couldn't be more different from the get-go. I mean, just look at this gap. It's massive. Tom Canty is a pauper, which means his family is beyond poor, all crammed into one single room on a dirty little street called Pudding Lane. And then you have Edward Tudor. He's actual royalty. He lives in Westminster Palace. We're talking about two completely different universes right in the same city. Okay, so first, let's get to know Tom Canty, our pauper who dreamed of being so much more. And we have to understand what this word pauper really meant back then. It wasn't just being short on cash. No way. It meant you had nothing. No social standing, zero opportunities. You survived by begging, or maybe stealing if you had to. It was a really tough existence. So Tom's life is this wild mix of darkness and light. His dad is a thief who forces him to go out and beg. It's awful. But then there's this kind priest, Father Andrew, who becomes his lifeline. He teaches Tom to read and write and tells him these amazing stories about kings and princes. And Tom just soaks it all up. He starts pretending to be a prince himself, even setting up a little royal court with his friends. It's his escape. Now, let's flip the coin and head across town to Westminster Palace to see what life is like for Prince Edward. You know, you'd think being the son of the famous King Henry VIII would be the best thing ever. And sure, Edward has all the riches you can imagine, but what he doesn't have is freedom. His whole life is planned out for him. It's like living in a beautiful golden cage. It looks amazing from the outside, but on the inside, you're trapped and pretty lonely. And this really shows you the difference. Tom, the pauper, is rich in one thing, friends. He runs around, plays with his sisters and buddies, and just gets to be a kid. Edward, though, he's surrounded by people, but he's totally isolated. He has sisters, but there's no real connection there. He's craving this simple fun that Tom probably doesn't even think twice about. And this is the moment everything is about to change. Tom, full of all those stories from Father Andrew, decides he just has to see a real prince. So he makes his way to the gates of Westminster Palace. You have to imagine what this place looked like to Tom. The palace wasn't just a big house. It was a myth, a fortress of power and wealth, a world so different from his own that just getting close to it felt like breaking a huge rule. So there's Tom, just staring through the gates, totally lost in his daydream, when suddenly, reality hits. A soldier sees him and doesn't see a curious kid. He sees a piece of trash. He yells at him to get lost and shoves him to the ground. But then, a voice cuts through all the noise. And it's the prince, Prince Edward himself. And right here, we see who he really is. He's not some spoiled brat. He sees an injustice and immediately steps in to stop it. He's kind. This is just a jaw-dropping moment. The prince doesn't just tell the guard to back off, he makes a statement. He says his father is king of everyone, rich and poor. And with that, he orders the guards to let this random raggedy boy inside the palace. He literally breaks down the wall between their two worlds. So now they're inside, away from everyone, and these two boys from opposite ends of the universe start talking. And this one conversation is about to kick off something huge. First, Edward, being a good guy, gets Tom something to eat. And as Tom tells him about his life, the single room, the begging, the angry father, the prince just can't believe it. He's truly horrified and says, "That's not fair." But then comes the real shocker. They get a good look at each other and realize they're identical. Same eyes, same hair, same voice. It's like looking in a mirror. And this is where Edward gets a wild idea. He's so curious about Tom's life of freedom, and Tom's always dreamed of being a prince. So what if they just switched? It's a classic kid plan. Super simple, a little bit crazy, and they do it without a second thought. They swap clothes, just for a little bit. What could go wrong? Well, pretty much everything. The second Edward steps outside the palace wearing Tom's rags, his dream of freedom turns into an absolute nightmare. The change is instant. Tom is safe and sound inside the palace, surrounded by unbelievable luxury. Edward, though, the freedom he wanted is terrifying. He's tired, he's hungry, he's scared. And the worst part? Nobody even looks at him. He's just another poor kid. His power, his status, it all disappeared when he took off his princely clothes. He gets desperate. He finds a school for poor boys that he'd visited before. And he marches up and announces, "I am Prince Edward," thinking they'll obviously recognize him. But they just laugh. To them, he's just some crazy kid in rags making up a ridiculous story. And it gets worse. The laughter turns mean, fast. Saying he's the prince actually makes him a target. One kid even suggests they throw him in a pond. Just like that, the future King of England has become a victim of a bunch of schoolyard bullies. And think about this for a second. The number of times Prince Edward had ever been on his own, outside the palace, having to take care of himself? 0. A big, fat 0. He has no money, no friends, no idea how to survive in the very city he's supposed to rule. He is completely, totally lost. You see, Edward's entire identity was wrapped up in his title and what he wore. Without them, he's nobody. And that's the real problem he's facing now. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. What do you do when the world refuses to believe you are who you know you are?